What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to the stream. I appreciate you tuning in to check out our second trade deadline in our Colorado Rockies rebuild. So the squad has not been performing well. You see, we are 26 games off of first place, but we're not too worried about that because we know we weren't going to compete this year. We are 34 and 60. I'm a little bit more concerned about that 26 games under 500 mark. And we have the worst record in the major leagues. Not a surprise considering we are the 29th ranked team in terms of overall, but hey, it's a rebuild. We're just going to here doing what we do, try to build up some players and try to acquire some top tier talent at the trade deadline. So let's give you a little recap of what happened over the last couple months. I want to first start by showing you that telling you that I DFA'd David Dahl, who had been just performing piss poor at AAA. Felt no reason to hang on to him. He was taking time from other players, so just got rid of him, cleared open a 40-man roster spot, which we can use in the near future. And now, going to be taking you through some of our trades. Now, I'm going to show you a couple guys whom I was hoping were going to be available for trade, but didn't quite pan out. As you can see, Corey Kluber, that 5.5 ERA, the FIP not that much better either. So he is not going to be a trade candidate for this year. I may DFA him to open up a rotation spot for some of my younger guys to get them some work. I'm not quite sure, but he definitely will not be getting traded. Austin Gomber, again, another bad season. He's given up a lot of home runs, which is very uncharacteristic of him in the past. So it should be interesting to see if we can get anything for him eventually. He has not had a good first two seasons of this rebuild. So, yeah, it's quite unfortunate. So let's shift gears and move over to our trade block so you can see who is going to be traded in this trade deadline. So Ryan McMahon has actually picked it up recently, so that is good enough. The numbers on the year aren't fantastic, but with his recent performance being better and him still having 2 years of control left on before he's a free agent and he's 27 years old, I am going to trade him at the deadline, and I think that I get a pretty decent return for him. You can always let me know in the comment section what you think of my returns, my trades. I take any and all feedback. I am an open book. So the next guy we're going to look at, Dakota Hudson. He's got a few years of service time left. So you'd think at 26 years old, we might want to hang on to him, but I think I'm going to strike while the iron is hot. Decent year at the 4.06 ERA and the FIP rating right around there. Normally, not a lot of teams would be interested in a C potential 76 overall with a 4 ERA, but I did find one team that actually was in need of a back-end 4th and 5th starter, and I thought Dakota Hudson really fit that mark quite well. Then we're going to move on to Nomar Mazara, who in our leadoff spot has been having a very good season and is a perfect trade candidate for some teams that need a right fielder or a bench bat. Actually going to trade him to a team that really needs a right fielder, so it'll be a perfect fit for them. And then Jairo Diaz, whom we just called up, has had a couple of good seasons for us in our bullpen and should make some nice team happy who needs a little bit of bullpen help. So let us move to the trades. We're going to first start with Dakota Hudson. And the team that is in desperate need of a 4th starting pitcher is going to be the Boston Red Sox. So I'm going to take you real quick just to show you their rotation currently. They have John Gant and Tyler Anderson, who are both lower overall than Dakota Hudson and not pitching as well as Dakota Hudson. So this trade makes a decent amount of sense. The return for him is going to be, so let's set up Dakota Hudson over there. The return for him is going to be a B potential player, which you might think is maybe a little bit high of a return, but it's going to be 24-year-old Noah Song, the Navy grad. So I think that Boston is okay doing this because Dakota Hudson's only 2 years older than him. He's already a 76 overall. They can use him this year. They have other B potential guys around that they quite like a Jay Groom, and looks like they traded away one of their other B potential guys. But so I don't think they're going to dislike this trade too much. And as you can see, we actually even have the bar a little bit towards them in terms of how the game rates this trade. So I'm going to go through with that. And that is our first trade. Now, for our second trade, we are going to be dealing Ryan McMahon to the Kansas City Royals. Now, the Royals are surprisingly in the playoff hunt this season, and a guy like Ryan McMahon makes a lot of sense for them in the long term. Now, Whit Merrifield is their second baseman. I don't know if he's playing second base, center field, or what he's doing for them right now. So maybe he doesn't fit in at second base, but he could slide into Carlos Santana's role at first base or some type of a DH. And for the long term, Ryan McMahon still has 2 years of service time left before he becomes a free agent. So a team that is young and building like the Royals, they're going to quite like Ryan McMahon. And the return I get for him is not super great. I think his performance the last 2 years really did kind of hurt the return I could get for him, because I was trying for guys like Jackson Kowar. They wouldn't do it. Asa Lacy, which I did not expect because he's pretty high potential. As you can see, he's a top prospect. However, they did give me Daniel Lynch. And what I liked about this was it was giving me an advanced left-handed starting pitcher, which I do not have many advanced lefties in my system currently. I drafted a couple last year that I like, but I do not have anybody advanced. Decent walk numbers, strikeout numbers could be a little bit better, but I can work with it. This is a guy I could see in the rotation late this year, early next year. So I like what I can do with this. I can work with that. I think both teams get pretty decent value in that trade. So now we're going to move on to Nomar Mazara. He is going to go to the Oakland Athletics, who Stephen Piscotty is hitting awful this year. Not to mention he's a right-handed hitter who doesn't hit righties very well. So it's a perfect fit for Nomar Mazara to come in with his very decent slash line. And from return from the Athletics, I'm going to go get Pedro Pineda, whom I think was probably a draft pick last year because I don't recognize the name in terms of prospects in real life. But he's a B potential 19-year-old, 55 overall, so pretty far away from the majors, but I like the potential. I like his makeup. So I think this is a guy that we can use as a long-term option. Maybe ends up being on an MLB roster someday. Maybe ends up being a trade chip when we want to make some big moves down the line. Either way, I think this is a pretty decent trade for both sides, and I am going for it. And then the final trade today is we are going to be dealing Jairo Diaz, who's got a couple years of service time left, so he has some value to teams. And the Braves, they really need some not rotation. They need some bullpen help. As you can see, decent overalls in the bullpen, but they don't have any right-handers. Their only two right-handers in the bullpen are Chris Martin and Luke Jackson, and Luke Jackson's not been performing very well. So they really do need a right-handed pitcher. Somebody low cost would be a good fit for them, so that's why I'm going to send them Jairo Diaz. So the return from them, not going to be anything too crazy because, again, this is just Jairo Diaz, 72 overall, C potential, 30 years old. But I am going to go and get Vaughn Grissom. So 21-year-old shortstop, C potential, 62 overall. We are not very deep at shortstop currently. We have a lot of young guys and a couple older guys. Nobody in the 60s at all. And Vaughn Grissom's going to kind of fill that kind of hole that we have in between. Just trying to balance out our system mainly. Not really expecting this kid to be anything too insane, but I kind of like what we're getting in him. Maybe he can develop, or at least we have some balance for our system. So that is going to be our last trade. Looking at our roster, we now have 91 guys in the system, so we might pick up a couple guys in free agency. I'll let you know whom I choose. I have some major league guys to balance out. I've now fortunately opened up some spots in the majors for me to bring up some of these AAA guys who are playing pretty well. Michael Hermosillo, he's having a pretty good year at AAA. Michael Chavez, though he's cold recently, he's really been scorching the ball at AAA. Probably going to bring him up and play him in probably right field, left field, something like that, because it's about time for him to get some playing time in the major leagues. Other guys I'm keeping an eye on, Ryan Velade might get a call up in September. Other guys not having a ton of players performing super well. Travis Demerite, would love to get him in the majors, see what he can do. He's playing pretty well at AAA. Isan Diaz, okay. So some of these young guys that we signed, probably not Jonathan Daza, probably going to be our last year with messing with him. So some of these younger guys that we picked up in free agency, going to give them a shot in the majors, see if they can stick. If they can't, we'll just move on, go to the next crew. and then go from there. So just showing you a couple more of the minor leaguers. Michael Toglia continues to murder the baseball at AAA. Might earn himself a call up to AAA at some point. Our first round draft pick, Dave Perry, he started to pick it up a little bit. Hasn't developed much, which is a little bit concerning, but still a lot of season left. Reese Hines from last year's trade with the Reds, he's not doing so hot. We are struggling to find catchers. Gabriel Moreno really been bad this year, and that's concerning. So switch over to, well, let's just go look at our major league lineup. Rio Ruiz has cooled off. He's not gone so well. So is Patrick Wisdom. However, Trevor Larnach, who we got from the Twins last year, he has really started to establish himself as a good piece. Francisco Mejia also playing well in that catcher role. Brendan Rodgers cooling off a little bit, but still liking what we're getting out of him. Corey Ray started to heat up. He's only at 61 at-bats, so maybe we'll start to get him some more playing time in the second half, see what he can do. Taylor Jones has been crushing those left-handers. I really like what I'm getting out of him in this platoon role. So shifting over to the pitching rotation, we already talked about Kluber and Gomber. Christian Javier kind of slowing down a little bit. What's his FIP? 4.73. So slowly going to try to get him to his maximum potential. See if he can kind of perform well. Hopefully, we'll see. Tyler Beatty not doing so well as our Rule 5 draft pick. Eniel De Los Santos has started to settle down. Hopefully see that potential bump back up to a B if he starts having a good second half. FIP almost down under 4. Justin Lawrence has been killing it. I don't know why the game hasn't quite given him a potential bump. Maybe they have. I'll have to go check a look at that. But man, this guy has been killing it. He's been such a wonderful piece for us. Wanderson Charles was a trade deadline acquisition last year. He's pitching well. Robert Stevenson, who has been pitching phenomenally well. I decided to hang on to him because I want to try to see how high I can get that potential. Maybe we can get a pretty big return from him next season or in the offseason. One of the two. Or maybe we want to re-sign him long term as just being one of those big-time rotate or bench bullpen pieces. Don't love the blown saves number, but other than that, I think he's done pretty well, and I'm pretty happy. Jordan Balazovic may force us to put him into the majors at some point this season. He's just pitching way too well at AAA. Some of these younger guys we picked up, Nick Neidert, Tyson Miller, they're both pitching really well. After a slow start in AAA, Hunter Green is now pitching pretty well. Antonio Santos has been throwing well all year. He'll probably be one of our first call-ups to the majors. Yohan Ibar has had a great season. I'll probably get him into the majors at some point this year. Ben Bowden's been pitching well. And then I'm actually kind of impressed with Jesus Tinoco for the second straight season. Down here in AA, where we really got a lot of our big-time players, Helcris Olivares is pitching okay. So is Matthew Thompson. Chris McMahon for the second straight season might force his hand and be one of our top prospects. I don't know. Freddie Garcia, one of our top draft picks from last year, he has started to settle down after a slow start from the year. We got Derek Mullins, who was another one of our top draft picks last year. He has now been pushed into AA, and he is off to a hot start, so you'll love to see that. And then the last guy, as always, want to point out Tony Losi. He's got himself up to a 66 overall. Probably try to push him to AAA at some point, and we'll go from there. So we are 34-60. Things aren't looking so pretty for this year, but I'm excited to see how some of these young guys can do now that they're going to get some full opportunities. Probably going to be aggressive with some DFAs in the second half here. Might end up sending Garrett Hampson down to AAA just so if he can try to get his swing back, his confidence back, because, man, this has been an awful 2 seasons. It's just been awful. And he's taking up playing time from other guys who I want to see. So that is going to be the end of this episode. I appreciate y'all tuning in. This is going to be the last episode for today. I will see you guys probably tomorrow. Hope you all enjoy your night, and peace out.